It is time for the semifinals here at the World Championship Series, Montreal. We are live from Canada, and boy, oh boy, has there been a lot of StarCraft to watch over the course of this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. It only gets better. Can you believe it? I can. I'm Nathanius, your host for the weekend, joined by Zombie Grub and Fear Dragon to bring you some amazing games. Fear Dragon, Rainer pulling it out there against Thermal in the heat of the moment. Amazing.
I already said everything I had to say. That was insane. I was losing my mind watching that. Thermal was just so confident. Just you need to have unbelievable levels of just confidence to pull out that kind of build in Game 5 when you're on the verge of going to the semifinals. It was absurd.
There was so much momentum in the crowd and just like hype about Rainer that we really did not get to focus on the fact that Thermal is such a baller. That is the word I'll be using for Thermal. He's such a baller. He took it to the ace match. He proxy racks. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's been an amazing day of StarCraft, but only 4 players remain. As we get into our first match, we'd like to show you our road to the semifinal.
I'm pretty confident. When I'm gonna face Lambo or Showtime, I need to play a bit better still, but I think I can do that, and I'm pretty confident I can go to the finals.
And in these last final moments, Serral shuts down the army, forces out the GG.
I'm decently confident, but my opponent is the best, maybe even the best in the world. It's Serral, and I think it would have been super sick if I played against Scarlet for a BlizzCon spot. That would have been my dream. But now my opponent is Serral, and I have to deal with it, and yeah, I'm gonna try to prepare as much as possible. Serral, maybe the last 2 times you got a bit lucky, and this time I won't let it happen again. This time I will get you because I need to beat you.
Good luck, buddy.
Good luck, buddy. This is the World Championship Series. Serral very recently defeated Lambo 4-2 in the WCS Europe Challenger Edition matches, the finals of Challenger for this season.
I think I have to give a laser, but he did defeat Lambo.
I thought it was Lambo. I don't know. Maybe
he did defeat Lambo
European
3-1.
Okay, 3
in the semifinals.
Okay.
Yes.
There
You were
There
very
you go.
close, though.
Yeah, he played 2 Zergs there. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you're here, because you remember everything.
There you go. I'm Roddy Jr., gradually making my way. I get the predictions or the history wrong maybe like 75% of the time, but 25% of the time,
He's right every time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring out the players onto the stage with someone who doesn't ever make any mistakes, our wonderful host, Smix. Bring him out.
Bring him out indeed. This is a rematch of the WCS Austin semifinals. Will our Finnish Zerg remain undefeated, or can our German Zerg finally stop him? Let's bring him out. It's Serral and Lambo.
I do like that he said in that little piece there, he got lucky the last few times. Zombie Grub, we you know, half the time any of us lose a game, it's because the opponent got lucky, you know?
Well, also the other opponent's race is just really good.
Yeah, that too.
That's
well,
all
I mean, thank God we've got a segment later to address that problem.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I feel like it is something the Lambo would say, but do I actually believe it? No. No, of course I don't, but I love the hype. I love the confidence.
What I think is really interesting is I was actually talking with Serral during the other matches that were going on, just having a little chit chat, and he was kind of saying, you know, okay, you know what, Scarlet, I was really worried about her. I was really honestly worried about her, and I managed to beat her. I still think that I should have won that, and he did. He said, I respect Lambo. He's kind of doing the nice Serral thing. He was like, yeah, you know, he's a good player. I think he really deserves to make it to BlizzCon. But I beat Scarlet, so I should be able to beat Lambo. So it's showing a little confidence. He actually is showing confidence.
Deserves every ounce of confidence. I mean,
Yeah.
Serral is arguably, to some people, the best player in StarCraft right now.
Arguably to Lambo, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I mean, people bring it up all the time. There's a huge point of contention, the GSL versus the World victory. I mean, he did only play 1 map against Maru, which is the only reason why
It was
I would
pretty
be like,
dominating map.
that's why I give him an is it though. I give him an in control approved is it though. Twitch chat seems to agree Serral is a huge favorite in this match.
Yeah, I mean, he is, but Lambo does have a lot of things going for him, not just the momentum of doing well in this tournament, but all the knowledge that he has about ZvZ being a very good matchup for him. And then he does have all of these attempts to kill Serral from a lot of Zerg players that styles I think he can emulate, that he can do well against Serral with. But winning, I don't know about that.
All right, well, let's find out if he's got what it takes to upset the Night King. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Serral versus Lambo.
Welcome everybody to the first semi-final of the day. It's going to be our very own Sith Lord Serral from Finland taking on the young upstart Lambo, hoping to make history and topple that which cannot be toppled.
On the left top side of Asset Plant, for the first map of this semi-final, we're looking in the main base of the man that has made it to every final so far. It's Serral.
I like that. An adequate amount of cheering. It's okay. Winter is coming. In the lower right-hand side, from Germany, it's the red Zerg from Clash, Lambo. And he's a darn good ZvZ player. He's just a good Zerg player in general. I just feel like every time you commentate a match with Serral, you gotta go, but Serral's the best.
Serral is the best. Now, let's get the formalities out of the way quickly. Of course, with Uthermal losing, things look phenomenal for Lambo when it comes to qualifying for the global finals. But he's not there yet. If Raynor or Time would win the entire event, he would still get knocked out. And some people say that's unlikely, but one of the two is going to be in the final, Jeff. So that would still be a very scary series for Lambo to watch if he would lose here. However, if Lambo makes it to the final, he has nothing to worry about anymore. Then obviously he's locked in, he's done, he's got enough points. But then it gets very exciting for Nurcho to see what happens.
Right.
Because if Lambo makes it to the final, then Nurcho could still get knocked out. But of course, if Serral wins here, then Nurcho is done and Lambo is done. Unless Raynor or Time wins the entire event.
Simply put, Lambo needs Serral to lose. It doesn't necessarily have to be Lambo that does it. Of course, that would be the easiest path, but it's got to be somebody. And who can do that? We did see Serral trip up against Scarlet, but a lot of people, I would say, trip up against Scarlet. She's a fantastic player, very tough to beat in a best of 5. And even beyond that, Serral had a little bit of an uncharacteristically sloppy match against Jon Snow, dropping a map, and then probably should have dropped even another one. All of that Zerg versus Zerg. So Lambo going into this, actually, we saw the wonderful ticker there, updated by our very own Wax Angel, saying that Lambo says, hey, I mean, Serral looks more beatable than ever right now in the ZvZ matchup.
But I also feel that's one of those moments where we've been before. And I also feel that when people start getting confident against Serral, that's where things go wrong, right? And that kind of reminds me of Valencia as well, where Raynor also had a phenomenal run. And Raynor was like, I would really like to play Serral. That will be amazing.
What a treat.
Yes. Well, he did get to play Serral. Then he lost 3-0 in a very one-sided series. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I do agree with what Lambo said, because that's not wrong. It's
right.
Nothing that he said was weird. Serral indeed looked a little more mortal so far. Historically, these guys have played against each other 6 times. Serral has won all 6. That's over the last 2 years. This year, this is their 5th best of 5 already. So that's a lot of best of 5. Serral has won 2 of them 3-0. The other 2 were 3-1 victories for Serral.
Yeah. It's very one-sided. But the nice thing about kind of StarCraft stats is these matches aren't played this week or something. They're over a course of time, but also it's a streaky game. You can get pretty hot in a weekend. Now, it is going to be Lambo that's stringing out quite a few Zerglings here, trying to put pressure on that third base. He has a Baneling Nest going up behind this, but it's Serral with, in my opinion, the better choice. He's going for the faster Roach Warren. Those Roaches shut down Banelings, and they can even slow walk across the map and get some real work done.
Ooh, one Queen is a little bit out of position there. So that's a nice little pickoff for Lambo. Always
Maybe
nice.
The other one?
That would have been hard, I guess. But this is already nice for Serral, though, because he's skipping the Baneling Nest, which you could say is a little bit greedy in ZvZ, but he's showing a lot of Zerglings to Lambo, and Lambo is not really worried about attacking with Ling Bane.
Right.
And by the time that he ever thinks about attacking with Ling Bane now, that obviously means that by then Serral is going to have Roaches. Can we take a look where those Banelings are morphing for Lambo? Okay, over here.
Yeah.
Well, that means that Lambo is not really going to get much value out of his Baneling Nest, and I'm sure that he wished he would have been a little more aggressive, because technically you're supposed to get an advantage with Ling Bane over pure Ling, trying to rush into those Roaches.
Kevin, there's a shadow war that's going on right now. These Zerglings are actually zoning out the scouting Zerglings of Lambo. One of the reasons why that Queen died is they were hunting for Overlords, and that's the first Roach spotted. There's not even a Roach Warren for Lambo. He's caught in a 7-drone cycle. It's not like Serral to do a timing attack like this too terribly often. He's been known to do it every once in a while, but this is going to catch Lambo in a very tough spot. He actually starts up 2 more drones. I can't say I agree with that. I mean, he only did see the 1 roach, who's maybe worried about it being just like the beginning of nothing. And I guess there is drones behind this.
Yeah, it's not that much for Serral, though.
Oh, okay, he's not really going for it.
Nope, he has an Evo chamber, and obviously now this Overlord spots the roaches on the right side. Of course, Serral wants to force out a lot of units here from Lambo, preferably a lot of defensive banelings as well. But Serral is not going to commit there. He's just going to be like, I skipped the baneling nest in this game, and I made it through. I'm even economically ahead a little bit. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it ends up being a great choice. He's ahead a few workers. Army supply, he's still up a little bit there. And then, like you said, he skips the bailing tech, which is not the most necessary thing at this stage at all anyways. Now, these Lings get a little bit trapped here. They were going after that drone mineral line. It's going to cost them a pretty penny.
Lambo is gearing up for a lot of Lings and perhaps banelings on the right top side as well. Maybe he's going to try to wiggle those into the natural of Serral. That's not going to be easy because Serral does have vision of that ramp. There are a couple banelings in the middle of the map as well, looking for a great connection, but Serral's not going to run into those.
Yeah, I feel like if he would have maybe done some aggro on the right side of the map with that other force, he could have got Serral to look away for a second, maybe pop them, but not the case here. Some drones dying. Queen gets sniped over at the 3rd. Ling's running up into the main. There is a Queen there that can get sniped quite well as well. The Ling's going to back off on the 3rd, but inside the main, quite a bit of damage. There's actually nothing here. Just now the banelings show up.
I mean, this is very nice for Serral because he's getting a lot out of really not much of an investment at all. It's just a couple of Lings. He was able to find 2 Queens. He's going to be able to get 3 drones here already. And of course, a lot of lost mining time for Lambo because all of the drones that were at the 3rd base, they were sent to the natural. And the drones in the main, they were being stacked up on the mineral patch. So that's a lot of indirect damage that Serral was just able to do there to Lambo.
And he's applying some other pressure here. Just some slow roaches called out in the middle of the map. There's enough banelings here to add some area of effect damage there, and actually the roaches of Serral able to slip past us a lot better than I thought was possible. It's going to cost him still maybe a roach, but not nearly as bad as it could have been. His speed should finish up a fraction of a few seconds faster, but that does mean his escapability will be nice.
I mean, I do love this for Serral now at the end too, right? Once the dust is settled, you're like, okay, he skipped the baneling nest. He was able to get some economic damage done. Right now, they're even on the workers, but Serral had a pretty healthy worker lead for quite some time. His +2 missile attacks is quite a bit ahead of the one of Lambo, and he's got more roaches out on the map. So, yeah, 7 minutes in, Serral is going to be very pleased with everything that he has accomplished in this game.
And we are getting closer to his own self-professed wheelhouse, where it's burrowed roach time. And he's just so good about getting into all the bases, causing some havoc in the economy. But we even saw him flat out turn fights around by burrowing underneath the army and showing up and cutting it off, getting on top of those Ravagers. So look for that tactic. It has to be something Lambo's prepared for. It is one of those tough things where it's like you can prepare for it, but it still does come down to execution. It's not like a Dark Shrine, for instance, where if you have detection, you can pretty much shut it down. It's tough.
Of course, complimenting Serral on his multitasking is almost cliche, but that truly is one of the things where he sets himself apart from all his other competitors in this WCS circuit. Now, Lambo gets a good scout. He didn't see the Roach Warren wiggle yet, though, because only now Serral is starting those 2 upgrades that you just mentioned. Jeff Burrow and Tunneling Claws are on the way, but by the time that Lambo was scouting, he did not see that yet, but I do agree with you. He should know about it. This is not his first rodeo with Serral.
And Lambo, like we said, is a very good, well-researched Zerg, by the way, too. He looks up his opponents. He asks people around about what he can kind of do. He's going to have this left flank kind of collapsed in on by the forces of Serral. And, you know, we've got to commentate a lot of Serral's ZvZ in this tournament. Well, I'm going to hold off on that thought for a second. Here comes a big wave of units coming on top of this. Going to avoid the corrosive bile there. The Queen, unfortunately, steps forward, does die essentially for free. Concave trying to hold this off, but there's a lot of Serral here. The army supply has shifted in favor of Lambo, and that's that left flank where he's going to win the day. And over here, it looks like Serral might have overstayed his welcome as well.
Yeah, I was very worried there for Lambo, but I think he's handling it quite decently there in the end. Not a bad trade at all. He's still winning this fight on the left side. He's going to be able to grab a few more roaches. Well done there by Lambo. For a second, I thought his army positioning wasn't perfect, but in the end, he really didn't lose anything there. So well done. Good hold there by Lambo, and that's kind of what he needed, because he was a little bit behind.
Roddy, I'm going to borrow your own words. In the green room, we talk a lot about these games. Roddy was talking about how one of the traps he sees people fall into is when they play Serral, they're just like, I'm going to do the same kind of stuff you are, but better. Look at the production tab. It's Burrow, it's Tunneling Claws, it's Roaches, and it's Ravagers. And Lambo's very good. He's just playing against a guy that's something otherworldly. He's very, very good. Now, I hope he makes me look to be a fool, and he does outplay Serral, but that's a hard call.
Yep, now I don't like this fight anymore for Lambo. I think he needs to retreat. He's gonna end up losing a couple of units. A few Ravages still feel a tiny bit exposed. Serral did eat a big corrosive ball there, but I'm with you. I really love the way that Scarlet approaches her games against Serral, where it's like, you play Roaches, I play Mutas, you play Mutas, I'll play Hydras, and it's gonna be weird. You know, I go early pool, you go regular pool, you go regular pool, I go 3 hatch, just anything different. Doing the exact same thing as Serral just seems to not work out for anyone other than Serral.
Nope, left flank collapse. This base should be dead. If not, it's going to take a lot of damage, maybe die later. Middle of the map, they were having a fight, but it looked pretty even. The bank of Serral, by the way, keep your eye on that. It's building up here. They're equal-ish in workers. Army supply, not that different.
Oh, he's setting up a trap, but there is an overseer here for Lambo, but he wasn't paying attention, so he's going to end up losing these Roaches on the left bottom side as well. And that's painful after losing that fort base and being down economically, of course.
And keep in mind, when you have a bank and you're maxed out like this, the bases basically represent reproduction and banking of money, so you can remax very quickly. Fourth base is not going to be allowed here. And now we can just start trading, says Serral, because I've just got more.
I'm sorry, Jeff, but Serral is just magical, man.
So
when you look at him, watch these games, Lambo's putting up a really good fight, but Serral is just winning left, right, and center. He's all over the place. He's picking up drones. He's winning fights on the top side. He's on top of everything. Serral's about to run away with this game. He's still maxed out. This kid is so sick.
He's pretty darn good as Serral takes that first game in this best-of-5 of the semifinal. Lambo not up to snuff in that one. And Roddy, we're going to do it. We're going to return to that concept I just talked about. I feel like the eternally difficult question that Serral poses to you is says, hey, either outplay me in my own game, because he just dominates the middle ground, right? He's just like, I'm going to do the normal stuff. You have to outplay me. And if you get weird, you're out of your comfort zone, because Lambo's not a super tricky Zerg. He's not somebody that does really weird stuff stylistically. But when you play Serral, he basically bullies you out of what you're comfortable with, and you got to outplay him or outsmart him. It's not been done so far.
I want to point out real quick as well that, of course, we have access to the map vetoes, and Serral decided to veto Fracture, which I think is a smart veto. That's the smallest map in the map pool against someone as aggressive as Lambo. I really think that makes a lot of sense. Lambo, on the other hand, he decided to veto Parasite, which I can also get behind, because that is a very large map. And I think when it comes to Lurkers, Vipers, of course, Lambo has shown us that he's able to hold his own there.
Of course.
But he's not Serral in that phase in the game either.
Yeah, Serral's veto to me speaks to, it's not even like he's like, I'm afraid of Lambo on that map. It's more, if I make one wrong choice, you can just lose on that map despite being the better player or even ahead because of how small it is. It's just like one bad fight, whoops, and they're in your base and you're dead. If you get rid of that, increase your reduce the random factor of what can happen in the series and make it so that Lambo literally just has to beat him.
Yep, the bigger the map, obviously the bigger the heads up. If you scout something that's different, if you scout something that's off on bigger maps, you have a few extra seconds to reply. And that may sound silly, but a few extra seconds could be queens on the top of a ramp, queens behind a wall of evolution chambers, and Serral obviously just vetoing that out. He's like, you know what? I want to have those extra seconds because I always believe in my ability to play ZvZ. Game 2 is going to be played on blue shift, and this man spawning on the left bottom side is eager to make it to 4 WCS finals in a row. Hailing from Finland, it's Serral.
StarCraft, the most difficult and beautiful game in the world, one of the hardest games to remain consistent in, and yet Serral has managed to do that. His opponent in the top right-hand side, given the tough task of beating Serral, is the German Zerg, Lambo.
Now, Blue Shift is, of course, a bigger map than Fracture, which is what we just went over, but this is also not that big of a map, especially if you spread a creep tumor or two forward out of your natural. You can go through the middle of the map very quickly, and we know Lambo, you make a lot of jokes about how similar Lambo and Laser are in their gameplay. You have to keep an eye on those main bases of those Clash Zergs, because on these maps, they often like to skip the lair and just make a ridiculous amount of Roaches, maybe morph them into Ravages, and just run everything to the other side of the map. Now, once again, Serral, I'm sure he's no stranger of this, because anything that we know about the game, Serral absolutely knows, but it is important that it keeps track of what's happening in that main base of Lambo.
Yeah, in some ways, I think this map is kind of a Fracture light. You take a bad fight, or even just the medium size of the map, and if you look at the space between the natural and third, which you commonly are fighting over, a bad fight there means the third's severed from the natural, or you go right into the natural. Now you've got, basically the game inside your teeth. It's just a very decisive map that way, to use a word that Pig's been thrown around quite a bit. It's been very true with our Zerg players here. And that is something of a point of concern for Serral. We've seen him lose a couple of fights. He's known for just how good he is at multitasking. He's usually harassing you when that happens. But a big snowball-y force is the way to win in a ZvZ, and that would be one of the paths to victory for Lambo.
We'll keep a close eye on everything. Of course, Lambo is going to perhaps be a little bit annoyed with himself that he missed the opportunity to do something with the Lings and Banes and Acid Plant. There's a reason why the Baneling Nest is the gold standard in this matchup, and that's just because it's super safe and standard. If your opponent sneaks in one Ling and sees that you're skipping a Baneling Nest, they can hold down that Ling button, make nothing but Lings and Banelings. And of course, Roaches are good against Lings, but you need them in numbers. You need them to tuck away between bases, and obviously the distance between the natural and the third base on most of these maps is pretty big, and 2 or 3 Roaches is never going to be enough there.
Right.
And that's why it's so scary in general to skip the Baneling Nest.
Well, what do you think, Roddy? Does Lambo have to do something completely different in this game? I mean, I know he's got his ideas, but if you were a laser and you're coaching up Lambo here, what do you tell him to do?
Oh, I would go for the hatchery type of push. You know, you pretend everything is normal, you pretend you're tacking up, but then maybe of like 36, 38 rounds, you just make nothing but Roaches, you reinforce that with Zerglings, and I think that's how I try to catch Serral off guard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a tiny bit predictable, but I feel those builds Lambo really shines at executing. This time it's Lambo, by the way, who's skipping the Baneling Nest, goes straight into the Roach Warren. I am curious to see where this goes, Jeff.
Yep, both players ramping up with some Lings here, but as Roddy's been pointing out, that Baneling Nest behind it, of course, changes the dynamic of that, excuse me. And Lambo's going to be poking and prodding at this third base, but he's going to very quickly find out he is not the apex predator in the area, as Banelings will start to take shape off the weakened and wounded Zerglings, perhaps. Yep. Now, the Lings that are showing up were meant to apply some light pressure on the third. Of course, I don't think this is the kind of force that was like, I'm going to cancel your third.
No, it's
We're going to
fake.
see. There's nothing happening on the production tab as that Roachborn finished. I think a lot of larvae is being saved up here.
Yeah, of course. Lambo has to be a little bit careful as well, because if he doesn't spend, if he would spend all of his larvae, and Serral suddenly has a couple of Banelings on his side of the map as well. Nice little pick off there for Lambo as he picks off a drone. Would obviously love to get a second one. 10 roaches. That's a few more. Now the Baneling Nest goes down as well.
Lings in the main, though. This is what Serral's so good about. He's going to... Actually, he's not even going to look. He's going to be doing the greedy play here. Sees no saturation at the third.
He's not crazy. Anything that I know about Lambo's ZvZ, Serral knows as well.
Yeah.
And I think he already has a perfect read on what Lambo's trying to do. This is the no-layer zone for Lambo. Serral's morphing those in vision, but it doesn't... I mean, obviously that could have been done better. But at least Serral knows, and that is so damn important.
Yeah, if you don't know, you can actually just literally fall over. If you only have Lings and Banelings against this kind of attack, you
They're
just
still
die.
going to get close, though. I mean, the Roach One is only now finishing up. Don't forget, those Lings of Lambo picked off that one drone that was supposed to build a Roach One.
Yep.
That delayed the Roach One, and that could actually become very, very important seconds here, because those 6 Roaches are on the way. Those could have been out already, and they're not out yet for Serral.
No, they're not out just yet. The third base is going to be a little bit of trouble, but with this kind of attack, Lambo wants to win the game, not necessarily just kill the third. He's going to go after the natural here and poke and prod for a second. Those few extra seconds have gotten the Roaches out for Serral, though. And he's going to push forward. The Banelings trying to exchange space with each other. A big Baneling hit on behalf of Serral. He's up in supply. Army supply is pretty close, though. And now the Lings get us surrounded on these slow Roaches, and with the Roaches behind him, I don't see them getting out of here.
That's beautiful. Beautiful done. Well done by Serral. Kept all of the Lings alive. Kept the Lings behind the Roaches. Avoids all of the Banelings. Sends his Banes forward one by one. And the moment he saw an opportunity, he sent those Lings forward. Jeff, how does he make it look so easy?
Well, the easy part I don't have an answer for, but I think one of the things that just continuously astounds me about him, he's so active with his Lings all the time. A lot of times you'll defend the third and maybe poke out mid-map or just kind of go back in macro, and then all of a sudden those 10 Roaches show up and you're just then like, oh no, I need Roach Horn or I need Spine Crawlers, and you just lose the game. It never happens to Serral. His Lings scout, or he makes an Overseer or whatever, he just always knows what you're doing, and then maybe he's on the back foot, but it's temporary. He's never caught completely off guard.
No, that's what I loved about his interview yesterday with Sue on stage, where Sue asked him, it's like, even in game 2, you seem to be in a little bit of trouble against Jon Snow, and you could hear in his voice how surprised he was that a bunch of Lings ran to the other side of the map, and he didn't see it. He's like, I must have missed it. Overlord, something. He's
I
like,
always see it. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I normally see everything. And this game, 2 Lings in the main base, sometimes it's nice, but if your opponent is pretty much all-inning you, it's more than just nice. That is game-winning information. Serral on point here to make it to his 4th final in a row. Jeff, we thought that what we saw last year with Neep was just unreal. We thought like, damn, that's just not, no one is going to be able to do that in 2018. That was ridiculous what Neep did. Serral showing us like, no, you can actually do more. You can make it. to 4 finals in a row.
When we talk about it all the time, I mean, the 4 finals, but for me, what's actually really impressive about this, and we need more time to talk about it, the level of play this year is higher for my money. You still have your special, you still have Showtime, even a better Showtime in my opinion, but you've got these other players stepping up, you've got this young talent coming up. Serral is remaining this consistent with a scene that has another 10 or so players that are very, very good, much better than last year. It's just been amazing. It's been a fun WCS season, and partly because of just how good this guy is right here. From Team ENS in Finland, it's Serral.
I honestly would never get bored of watching Serral play StarCraft.
No.
Some people might feel like it's fun to see a different champion. I think there is so much beauty in the dominance that he's showing in this season. But let's not count this man out yet. He's played some phenomenal StarCraft over the year, and he's looking good to make it to the global finals. Montreal, if you want to come back, make some noise for Lambo.
It's been really funny. Traditionally, I always root for the underdog. It's the foreigner in StarCraft or whatever team is playing on the screen. I kind of want the big upset. I like that. But earlier, when it looked like Scarlet was about to beat Serral, I had this weird emotional feeling in my chest where it's like, I'm not ready to see him lose yet. I need this to carry on kind of forever. And, you know, we're past that threshold where I'm not like, is he going to keep doing it? It's like, I want him to win for the next 10 years.
No, Jeff is not lying right now, guys. He was watching the games with me in the green room, and at one point he looked at me and he's like, I'm not ready for this yet. He's like, I don't want it to end. He's like, I'm living in Serral's world. And this needs to continue at least a little more longer. He's like, I'm just not emotionally and mentally ready to talk about Serral losing, because that's not the speech that I've prepared for this weekend.
No, it's like a big breakup. I'm like, no, I'm not there yet.
You know, this may end one day, but I really still want to enjoy the moments that we have.
I'm enjoying this wave. You know, at least through BlizzCon, we're going into it, and I just feel like there's a really good chance at a foreigner in the final or a foreigner making a big run in that tournament. And we never went in with that. We had guys who were like, maybe if they catch fire, they can do something cool. And of course, a Laser, a player that, you know, unfortunately got eliminated earlier here today. He was a guy that made a deep run special. Anyways, BlizzCon's a lot of fun. But here we are in the semifinals of WCS Montreal, and Lambo is back up against it. 0-2 for him, and both those games pretty quick and very direct, right? He tried something in game 2, it didn't work, boom, you're out of here. Game 1, a little bit more back and forth, but even then, Serral, as the game went on, took bigger and bigger leads.
I really wonder, like, what exactly went wrong for Lambo in those final moments of the game? Was it just that Serral's scouting was so perfect that he had just the right amount of drones, more, that he was just strong enough defensively? Or maybe Lambo could have done slightly better with his Lings and his Banes against the Lings and Banes of Serral. Maybe the positioning could have been different, but that fight snowballed so quickly. Holy smokes, that's a fast lair. If you ask me, this screams a Nidus network.
I agree. And on this fairly large map, Cerulean Fall.
It's not large, it's tiny.
Do you call it tiny?
This one is really tiny. It's deceivingly tiny. Wait until you get 12 pool on it and you try to wall up. You're like, whoa, those Lings showed up quickly.
My eyes are like rear view mirrors, man. Everything appears larger.
No, it's like, it's pretty big going to the sides, but from ramp to ramp, natural to natural, it really doesn't take that long.
It's got a lot of girth, you would say, but not quite the...
I don't know where you want to go with that, and I'm going to stop.
Well, you know, it's just
Jeff,
talking about size here.
Jeff, we did great all year long. Let's not make our run end
We're
here.
still doing great, Kevin. We're fine. It is going to be a lair on the flip side for Serral as well, but this speaks to me as like speed roach type of thing. Now on the flip side, Lambo is upgrading +1 range attack. I don't think you do that.
No, I think that's fake. I mean,
Get out.
No, we've seen it earlier this weekend. It's like, because now the Lings show up and this evolution chamber is wiggling, and Serral's like, +1 roach, okay, that makes sense. And then if the Nidus is done, he cancels it and gets extra roaches. But the Ling almost...
The additional gases though, Kevin, the actual speed upgrade. You know what though? Maybe it's all fake, Kevin. Everything's jiggling.
No, Serral's Ling didn't actually see everything.
It is speed roaches, by the way, guys. He's not actually doing it. It's not fake.
That was very, very fast level.
I would have liked it, though, to your point.
Obviously, the lair of Serral was fast as well. But what this does do is that this forces a slightly different game than we normally see with the Ling Bane phase and everything being ultra standard. So at least I feel like that's nice for Lambo, right? Don't give Serral the comfort that he always has with those standard games. Make it a little more difficult for him to figure out, should he worry about a Nidus network? We worried about it. Maybe Serral worried about it for a split second as well.
If he worries about anything, it's so fun to... He's actually evolved even as an interviewer on stage too, right? Like you can see that he's trying to level up his game with Smix, where he's like, All right, the next time she asks me this question, I'm going to act like I was worried for a second. It's like, yeah, I was really concerned.
I have to keep the fans interested.
Oh, man. Otherwise, it's just kind of a boring movie played over and over again. Some scouting roaches from Lambo. It's a little bit peculiar. There are speedlings out on the map, but it's the beginning of a train of roaches. And again, this is kind of a ZvZ thing. You want to signal to your opponent, hey, look, this could be the beginning of a big attack. You should be making drones right now, and behind that, you make your own drones, and seesaw back and forth they go. The fun thing to watch, though, is at this highest level with Lambo and these other guys, a lot of times they don't even bite. I'm like, nope, that's not a real attack.
So Serral scouts in the main base, spots that there is, not all the gases have been taken. There is no supplier or something, as he has pretty much checked every single base at this point. Serral has created a little economic advantage for himself. He's up 4 or 5 drones. He was up 8 drones before, but Lambo does have the upgrade advantage. He's working with 2 evolution chambers. Serral's only working with a single evolution chamber.
Okay, yeah, no, the second upgrade is a little bit bigger. I think back to his series against Scarlet, though, and he was like down 2 upgrades for a lot of one of the games that he won. It just feels like he plays with a different rule set in this game. Because normally that would be a big deal. We're talking about a worker difference that's now pretty significant, by the way. It's 15 drones in favor of Serral. Army supply is shifted over in Lambo's favor. Yeah, 15's a lot.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 before, and you could say like, that's fine. You know, if Lambo has a better engagement, he's completely okay. But 15, this
I'm a little bit worried, Kevin.
Yeah, this cannot go on for too much longer. But I think Lambo's probably gearing up for a timing attack.
Yes.
And this gives us the idea as well, as he's using Contaminate on this evolution chamber, and that may give Lambo a bigger window to attack Serral. Then again, attacking into Serral is always difficult, but you have to do something, Jeff.
I know he's got to do something, but it feels like this is the most predictable thing Lambo could do. Like, you actually earlier today talked about pausing at 55-ish workers and then holding down the roach key and just going forever with that. It's like a stereotype, right? Like, we know that Lambo does this, and if you and I know it, Serral knows it. He knows the other side of it. He knows the back side of it. He knows the unknown side of it. He knows everything about it. And you're like, well, I'm just going to attack into Serral and beat him here? He's going to attack into a guy he's 30 supply down on.
Yeah, but he's been droning up now behind this. I think he's buying maybe some time for his... Whoa, Contaminate being used on the other side of the map as well. I don't think he's committing, because he started up roaches again. But what we have to mention, guys, is that Serral was mining significantly more resources than Lambo for a solid 2 minutes in this game. And if you soon wonder, why is Lambo's army so much smaller? Well, because of that. He was mining less for 2 minutes. You can see
the wrong order. Like, if you build up this almost maxed out bulky Roach Ravager army, then drone up behind that, it gives your opponent time to have the upgrades kind of stabilize. Of course, they max out, you max out. It's the same, but they're banking more. But Lambo's going to lurch forward to the middle of the map here. I still don't really believe this is a real attack at this point in time. He's still roaching up behind that. And the army supply is equalizing. He's going to have +2 range attack finish here in a second, and he has that carapace upgrade ahead. But it will be just that upgrade, which does not, in my opinion, feel like the biggest impact in those Roach versus Ravager battles.
No, the engagements are always going to be very, very important. Positioning, just like in the old days. And of course, Stefano is
good split up here.
He was the first to show us how it's done, but Serral has really embraced that. Lambo's going to be able to get a cancel on this 4th base. Well done, I would say. Wow, it's more than a cancel. It's actually a straight-up kill. Serral not paying attention there, as he's trying to perhaps sandwich his army.
Yeah.
But this is that moment. Well, okay, +2, I was about to say, is going to be ahead of Lambo, but now it's done for Serral as well.
Really scary split of the army here. Good concave, though, for Lambo, and his army is actually going to be able to kind of join up together in the middle of the map faster than Serral's. They took a less efficient path. Both players close to max out. Army supply is very equal. Workers have equalized as well, but here we are. Serral is going to go into that shark mode and start to hunt, and if he can just hold off this attack, he's going to be in game-winning position.
That's somewhat difficult, though, because he's still down an upgrade. There's a lot of Ravagers on the north side here for Lambo as well. Now, of course, there is defender's advantage for Serral, but I feel the numbers are in favor of Lambo, who's getting on top of those Ravagers as well on the left side. Now, Serral's going to try to do the same, but this is a really good fight for Lambo, Jeff.
It is pretty darn good. The Ravagers have died, but it's just that 3rd base, almost kind of a 4th base. Now, even at the natural, reinforcements coming out. They need to get a surround on these Roaches. They are fairly wounded. Ravagers, of course, out of the fight. But the numbers still in favor of Lambo over here. Army supply in his favor as well. But can he weather the storm?
Serral just needs to hang in there a little bit longer, but he's losing a lot of Roaches. Now, he does have a Spine Crawler in his 3rd base to fall back on. And, of course, this army is very, very injured from Lambo. But Lambo's not losing an insane amount of units at home. He has lost 9 drones, but that's not that much. He has killed way more Roaches than Serral has done.
Yeah, he's got 15 more coming out, and they're actually going across the map. The burrowed Roaches are still being a nuisance, though, as they do clean up here, up inside that main base. But over at the 4th or 3rd, excuse me, we can see that they are going to continue to be a problem. 16 drones have now died. Giving some space is Lambo to make these Ravagers, and that will be a leg up as the Ravager count for Serral is non-existent.
Serral has not much to work with at all, Jeff. I mean, of course, he lost that fort base before as well. His counterattack is non-existent anymore. He's down 50 supplies. Sure, he's up economically, but I don't think Lambo's ever going to give him the time to really enjoy that economy.
Well, here we go. He's going to try. Roach is coming in from kind of different angles here. The Ravagers providing so much auxiliary fire support in the back there. Every corrosive bio that lands in their longer range, of course, contributing more to the DPS of the force overall. Now 70 some odd supply advantage for Lambo. There's got to be no way that he doesn't win this game. Serral's not that kind of a miracle worker. I just don't see it. GG's called, and Lambo strikes back. As Serral falls here, we're at a 2-1 score.
Very cool build by Lambo, I think, going into those roaches with speed that quickly, just changing the pace of the game a little bit and allowing himself to eventually have that upgrade advantage where he had a carapace upgrade.
Yep.
And I think Serral was in a very playable position. He was even outmining Lambo for a decent majority of the game. But I think that Serral got a little overeager. He sent so many roaches to counterattack that Lambo's like, yeah, that's cute and all, but now I'm just going to try to kill you. And he did.
Yep, Lambo with a much better mid-map engagement and then push forward for the win. We're going to take a quick commercial break as these players catch their breath. And when we get back, we'll get into map number 4 of this best of 5. We'll see you guys in just a minute. With BlizzCon on the line and the fiercest opponent at his face, Lambo is able to grab a win from Serral, outplaying him and outsmarting him there, doing what some might think the unthinkable. Can he do it 2 more times, Roddy?
We're about to find out, Jeff, as we are getting ready to hop into Dreamcatcher for our 4th map of our first semifinals here in good old Montreal. It's been lovely to be here. You guys in the audience, you have been absolutely awesome all weekend long. We've been loving the passion, loving the cheers, but we want some more, Jeff.
And loving the poutine, as it were.
Did you have some?
No.
Me neither.
But it's like that commentary thing you gotta say. Talk about the local food. Lower right-hand side, it's the Blue Zerg from Finland, Serral.
And on the left top side of Dreamcatcher, we're looking at the main base of our German Zerg. Can he make it 2 in a row? It is Lambo.
Wow.
Wow, that's a spin.
Spider-Man?
I'm dizzy.
Look at that picture. How'd they get that picture of Nate? It's crazy.
I think it's Upper 3 Zelda.
What? Yeah? Nate is both those people, actually. It turns out.
All those NA Terran streamers, Jeff.
Yep. It's just Nate, different streams, different times. Well, here we are. It is the map Dreamcatcher, which is very appropriate. If we go to another game 5, it would be an incredible quarterfinal and semifinal set. Almost all the series going the distance. But to get there, Lambo's got to play on this map, which is fairly basic, right? It's good for everything. It's not bad for anything. It could be mutas, could be just what Serral's been doing. And you know, one note of that last game, by the way, was really nice. Serral does this every time. He splits his army almost in half as he's upgrading tunneling claws, creates that space or attempts to, and then commits a pretty significant chunk to going off and counterattacking, as you pointed out, Rotterdam. In this case, because he was on his half the map when he tried to do that, Lambo was able to turn it around and get more immediate damage in, and then all he had to do was not sustain too much on his half the map for the win. That could be one of the formulas to try and handle what Serral has done to win all these series.
I also think that Serral just took the fight a tiny bit too early. He had a bunch of roaches on the production tab, and I feel like he could have pulled back a little bit further. When you send out that many units and you know that your opponent is not doing that and is just keeping his entire army in one big ball, you don't want to give him the fight that quickly. As Lambo is getting creative.
Yeah, that's got to be a lair, right? Like super fast lair.
Maybe as soon as that queen is done.
Yes.
I mean, he did it in the previous game. You can play similar to what he just did on Cerulean Fall. There's no reason for him to not try to do that again. Maybe it just feels like when you do that Ling Bane dance with Serral, it just never really ends well and you give him too much comfort. Like I said, I like these openings that change the pace of the game.
I have it. Show him the exact same thing he saw last game, and now it's this time it is Nidus Worm.
Let's see. And
I'm telling you.
He starts +1 missile attacks as well, cancels it.
Double Evo to really sell it?
He's a good salesman.
I'm telling you. And when it happens, I want everyone in the chat to say Jeff is so smart, because it's going to make up for the 600 missed calls that I've done this weekend alone.
It's possible, but there's also a reason, you know, to just not do it. And Lambo's like, hey, why would he take that risk, Jeff? Why would he have to Nidus if he can just do the same build as he did in the previous game and just try to turn it into another somewhat?
I'm feeling a little bit less confident about Roddy. I'm getting a little bit worried.
Why? You don't feel the Nidus anymore? He just canceled an Evo.
I know. I'm getting worried. I'm losing confidence.
Why? In the last game, he didn't cancel the Evo. This should be good. This should give you extra confidence. Nidus!
It's the upgrade, though. It's the upgrade that gives me pause.
No, the upgrade is to sell
and
it.
It's the other upgrade.
That one is not to sell it.
I really feel I've lost confidence.
But I'm surprised that he canceled the Evolution Chamber, as he didn't do that in that previous game.
Well, maybe the second Evo Chamber was to do this, to try and oversell it. You know, it's scary to do it to Serral, though, because he might have scouted out the slower, albeit, but still a Roach Warren of Serral and been like, I mean, do I really think he doesn't make any roaches at all?
I mean, this is weird. Maybe Lambo's is going to make way more roaches a lot earlier.
Well,
okay.
that doesn't seem to...
Yep, he's going to...
This is the most inefficient thing I've ever seen in my life.
Queen's working on rocks?
Yeah, just don't do it.
Well, he just wants to get these rocks down as quickly as possible, because I think
the roaches are fine.
Lambo is never stopping with building roaches, by the way. He's doing this of 33 drones. It's really important that Serral identifies this as quickly as possible, and he has already, I think, identified it. I think he knows what's up. He's up 11 workers, which is obviously quite a bit, but that's not a crazy, greedy amount. And I think with how big this map is, normally you would always say that Serral should be fine here. He's able to build roaches from 3 hatcheries, while Lambo's only doing it of 2. I have the feeling that...
And maybe no queens, right? Do we think he's on 5 queens? Because there's 3 mid-map.
I have a bad feeling about this one for Lambo. I mean, sure, his army is a little bit bigger, but by the time that he's through those rocks as well, I don't know if it's still going to be bigger.
Yeah.
And I think Serral's going to have the defender's advantage, of course. He's going to be able to put up a little concave. It's going to be
He will have speed, but he'll have a chunk of time where he's got +1 range attack ahead of Serral. But the reinforcements, the extra production, like you said, it seems like a very tall order.
Okay, well, Serral seems like he wants to defend here. Lambo's going to go for it immediately. He dives in.
No, I don't think so. He's fighting into a concave of Serral. The queens come forward. They don't have that much energy. In fact, none at all for the most part. The supply advantage is in favor of Serral. Not army, however. It is mostly the workers, but the reinforcement could be a problem. Now, that being said, the left flank is getting pretty low. The roaches of Lambo starting to win here. He's got a 12 army supply. 2 queens still standing.
It's a good start. It's a good start, but he needs more. There's a lot of roaches on the way. Drones are going to complicate things a little bit as well. More roaches coming in from the right side, but Lambo dives on top of them.
That speed upgrade on the roaches is a big, big deal. The drones are getting in the way. The queen's starting to get pretty low here, but the roaches of Lambo still pretty significant. He's up 20 army supply. The speed upgrade allows him to kind of pick where the fight goes, and the retreat of Serral is just not there. He's lost all the drones. They equalize here, and the roaches of Lambo are more. He pushes forward. He might have just done it.
I think 11 drones more was too many, as Lambo is still on top of the roaches of Serral, and a German Zerg is going to send us to Game 5. Lambo keeps his own BlizzCon fate in his own hands, and he pushes it to the decider.
He hits this timing attack. You were talking about that earlier, Roddy. It's like, it's just as the range attack upgrade finishes. It's just as the speed roaches finish. The Queens did not contribute that much. He had only a slight army advantage, but it was just the upgrade synchronizing and allowing him to take that fight. And then as soon as Serral kind of realized he was turning against him, he can't really run away, because as he runs away, he takes worse losses, and then pulling the drones gives up the only advantage he had in that fight. But of course, he had to do it. Just a really nice timing attack from Lambo to put us in Game 5 here.
And you know what I loved as well is how he had a couple of overlords in the middle of the map, dropping creep just to make his reinforcements show up a tiny bit quicker. It really felt that Serral identified this very quickly, that he had a good read on what it was, but like I said, maybe 11 drones was just a few too many. Maybe having 5 or 6 drones more than your opponent, that's obviously okay, but maybe 11 was just a tiny bit too greedy.
I mean, in retrospect, and this is, you know, just us being armchair quarterbacks, maybe a couple of spine crawlers. He has 11 drones up. He has to figure he does. He knows he's up a base entirely. If he drops 3 spine crawlers, and because he did identify it really early in advance, he probably wins that fight. But of course, Serral thought he was going to win the fight anyways. That's why he had a concave outside of those rocks and wanted to engage right there. If he knew that he needed even more time, he probably just pulls up into the natural, says, go ahead and take the third, I'll win the game. Thank you very much.
You know what I really loved as well is the moment that Lambo knocked down those rocks on Serral's side of the map, he didn't second guess himself for a second. Nope, he ran in there like, yeah, you've got a little concave, that's fine. I still have more roaches. I need to fight. It's now or never. Making that call with the tournament live on the line, I think is very brave, but it was the right one.
And just to reiterate, guys, if Lambo wins this next map, he's going to BlizzCon. He's going to play in the World Championship. He's going to get tens of thousands of dollars more. He's going to fight for life-changing money. It's a very, very big deal. Conversely, there's people watching this, like Nurchio and some others, that are saying, please don't win Lambo.
And he snaps one of the longest winning streaks we have ever seen in StarCraft 2 history. Serral has not lost an official match that was a best of 3 or a best of 5 since April, Jeff.
Amazing.
Like it's been, or March actually, it's been forever. Close to 40 games unbeaten. Is that streak about to end? We will see. For the first time, this man has lost 2 maps against his opponent. But can he close it out? It is Serral.
And the guy fighting for his destiny in the lower left-hand side from Germany, it's the Red Zerg Lambo. So much on the line for him. And funny enough, for Serral, it's basically just history that he's playing for. He's already going to BlizzCon.
It's the streak, Jeff.
The streak, it's history. It's just he wants to be the best.
It's our streak, too. We got attached to the streak.
I know that it just can't be about us. Right? It truly is about us, but we can't say it.
Now, this is the first time in the 5 best of 5 that these two have played against each other in 2018 that Lambo has taken 2 maps. Now, of course, Jeff, I don't want to get ahead of the situation just yet. Yes, Lambo won 2 games, but 2 times you could say that it was a fighter who went for the knockout punch and he came in all in swinging and he connected. But we haven't seen yet what happens in a game where he doesn't connect with that knockout punch, because the first 2 games, they were still not incredibly solid for Lambo. So we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but hey, one more build like that, and maybe, just maybe, the German Zerg can get it done here.
And you know, conversely, Kevin, that is how Lambo wins games. He's obviously a phenomenal player, but his style and kind of the way he crafts his best of series is to win with that decisive win. It's not going to be usually a really scrappy back and forth long game. It's more of a like, I had this idea, it caught you off guard, you lose.
And once again, I really like the opening that he went for in the last 2 games, just to change the pace of the game a little bit. Don't go for that very standard Link Bane stuff. Now, this is lost and found, and on this map, you pretty much always see it. So this time, we do see that he is starting up Zergling Speed, he is starting Bane Links, but I really like that he switched it up on those other 2 maps. Now, the biggest difference, guys, between those 2 maps and this one is obviously there's no ramp going into the natural. On this one, Lost and Found, it's flat. Dreamcatcher and Cerulean Fall, there are little ramps going into the natural.
Third base is going to be spotted here from Serral, and he'll gladly take his own third base as well. He has to feel like the more normal the game, the significantly better chance he has of winning. The nice thing about this series, though, is Lambo's had a few answers for what has been Serral's recipe thus far. And as Roddy just pointed out, the pace was changed in that last game. Sometimes it can throw you off kilter. Now we can see that both players returning to a more normal pace. As you look at that production tab, it's exactly mirrored.
Even bailing nest on both sides. Neither player trying to skip the bailing nest like we saw Serral doing game number 1 and we saw Lambo doing game number 2, even though, of course, he did add a bailing nest eventually on blue shift, but that was for the all-in. That's different. This is the most standard opening you see in ZvZ on this level, and that normally means good things for Serral, but that doesn't mean that Lambo can decide to suddenly make 18 Zerglings and try to make some magic happen.
One Zergling a little bit sloppily picked off in the middle of the map, as 2 versus 1 is always going to go in favor of the 2. And the Lings are going to kind of try and peruse each other's thoughts. Are you adding a lot of Lings behind this? Defensive banelings, or are you just pouring out and going for it? We see an Evo Chamber being added here for Serral. It'll be the slightly earlier, at least, Evo Chamber. And you'll also note that it's a little bit later because, as Roddy pointed out, it's a flat opening into the natural. You need to have some time for the creep to spread out so you can wall this in.
You know what I do like about Serral? That even when he loses 2 maps in a row, he doesn't play with too much fear, right? He's not suddenly overly safe and tries to do everything later than his opponent. Just now, he's doing the same thing as he always does. He runs around with a Zergling, he keeps track of things, and he's like, yep, actually I can start 7, 8 drones. That, something to me sounds so terrifying. If you just lost 2 games in a row against 2 all-ins, then the only thing that I would ever think of is like, what are the things that could potentially kill me right now? But that's the wrong mindset when you play StarCraft.
Right.
You have to scout, and you have to be cautious, but you can't be worried about every single thing out there, because then you're just digging your own grave and you're just not playing strong enough economically.
Yep, worry about everything and you'll die to anything. Ling is going to make its way in here, spots the lair being morphed to the natural, goes inside the main, doesn't see anything too earth-shattering, but his own lair, actually I don't know if you saw the lair go down exactly, and there is no way to, it doesn't jiggle more intensely or something.
15 drones at once being produced for Lambo. He's also really not showing us a lot of fear here. He doesn't want to play too safe either. Doesn't want to be outmined this game. Serral starts +1 missile attacks a little bit quicker. Serral runs the Zergling around. Both players just trying to...
Spire and melee from Lambo.
Okay, so he's really switching it up here. And I don't hate it. Once again, I feel like if you want to beat Serral, you got to do something different than he's doing. That's the way that Scarlet wins the games against Serral. That's the way that Lambo has been winning games so far in this best of 5 as well.
Or maybe not a fake upgrade. You get roach speed anyways, actually, because you can fall back on that.
Yep. And you need sometimes to be able to produce roaches as well as a safety in case Serral decides to all in. You know, where are those overseers? There is an overseer morphing. Normally, Serral is very, very on point. Is he morphing in his side of the map? Where's that overseer?
He might be.
Okay.
He's also getting Speed Overlord, though, and it's about to finish. And I love this upgrade from him because it's, again, a very fast overseer sees everything. And it's going to scout the Spire before it finishes, or at least that's the hope here if you're a Serral fan. And that means it'll have time to prepare. Spore colonies, go to Hydra Den, play from there.
Now, what I'm expecting out of Lambo is obviously you make a bunch of Mutalisks, you deny the map vision, you get a couple Overlords. Here comes that Overseer for Serral, but he spots the Spire by the time it's almost done, and he's going to be a tiny bit cautious this game. Because what we have seen throughout this best of 5 or the previous one, and also in some of the other tournaments, is that sometimes Serral gets a little overeager with his Hydras, and if Banelings connect with the Hydras, then obviously the Mutas have free reign over the rest of the army. So Serral really cannot underreact against these Mutas with his tournament life on the line.
Right.
You need Spore Crawlers, and you need to have your Hydras in very safe positions.
And there is the +1 air attack upgrade for this Muta, so I think Lambo is going to take your advice and do something a little bit different, or really commit to that. I believe there was a Baneling nest, but yes, okay. I don't think Baneling's speed has been upgraded.
Yeah, he's going to do that soon. He always want to get as many Mutas out as quickly as possible, because he's not going to try to end the game here. But of course, with the 73 drones, Lambo is going to be able to produce an overwhelming amount of Zerglings, Banelings, and of course Mutalisk as well. I think it's a cool build by Lambo. Whether it works or not, I like it. Do it differently. Don't do the same thing. Try to catch him off guard.
Absolutely, strongly agree here. 2 Spore colonies making their way over to that 4th base just to try and lock it down. And it is a lot of Mutas coming out behind this, and 34 Zerglings, actually. You might try to hit some kind of timing attack here in the middle. There's no creep connecting these 2 bases, which makes it a little bit weird for the Queens.
Oh, one Queen does get picked off. Mutas take a little bit of damage, but the Muta count is very high. Working on these roaches, obviously very nice.
More Lings, more Queens.
Yeah, Sarah, I mean, Lambo's going to be able to produce. He's on such a strong economy. He's on 72 workers. He's not going to have a couple of Banelings. He's going to be able to get... Oh, why is he showing this?
He's showing all of it. He shows up and he's trying to fight over the top of 2 spore colonies. Queen's back away, and I feel like with even just that little poke, the cat's out of the bag. Serral knows what's coming.
I don't like that he showed that amount of Zerglings already. Now Serral is going to be even more cautious than he already was. I love the 4 spore crawlers here. And it's all going to come down to the Banelings from Lambo, of course. They need to connect. Wow, Serral's so confident. Sending roaches out in this phase in the game? What?
I think they were spotted as they're pretty transparent in that area. That being said, this is just still buying more time. Like, even if these roaches get picked off mid-map, it's still good. Look at Lambo behind this. More Lings, more Mutas. There is nothing else. And now Hydras are starting to show up, Roddy.
I'm really sad that Lambo showed the Lynx so early. I really wish that he would have hit that a tiny bit longer. And I hope
there's no Spore Caller here.
No. Okay, those roaches will get spotted, but I'm with you, Jeff. All this second that goes by. Of course, Serral is losing a lot of important units here, and that's never good. But Serral's buying time. He wants to get more Hydras out. He wants to make sure he doesn't get overrun by a bunch of Mutalisks. Roaches are everywhere, and during all of this, Serral's trying to squeeze in the Lurker Den, and if there is one unit out there that's great against Banelings, it's the Lurker.
I am having a tough time seeing Lambo do this. I feel like he had a really great idea. It got snuffed out. He's remained lock-jawed on top of it. He's now building drones, to replace the ones that are lost. But with all this separation created, as Roddy pointed out, Lurkers, if they show up at all, goodbye Lings, goodbye Banelings, and then you just make as many Hydras as possible. The other thing these roaches did, by the way, is he knows there's no big roach counterattack that's about to happen or something, right? Like, a lot of times you go Muta, you follow up with roaches, but this number of Mutas,
he knows,
with no other tech, this game's very simple for Serral all of a sudden. It's hold on.
Yep, don't lose your Hydras against the Banelings. He's going to try to buy some more time with roaches. Serral has to be a tiny bit careful that he doesn't lose all of his roaches, though. It is important that you have some buffer. He's doing a great job. I think Lambo's had enough. 17 Banelings are morphing. And Lambo is going to try to snap the streak here of Serral. Lurkers are not out yet, Jeff. Maybe, just maybe, the Banelings of Lambo can get it done here.
It's going to have to do it right now. He's jumping on top of the Spore Crawlers, and here comes everything. There's still some Banelings for Serral. It's now or never for Lambo. He's going to try to get himself to Blitzkrieg. Jumps on top of the Hydras. The angle is choked down. The supply advantage is in favor of Serral. It looks like the Mutas are going to be pushed back. But here come the Banelings to get on top of the Hydras, and they evaporate them. Is it going to be enough, though? The Banelings make their way over to the third base. Mutas jumping on top of the choke spot. Supplies have equalized a little bit here. Serral starting to lose a little bit of grip, but there's Spore Crawlers everywhere.
Yep, a couple of Overlords are going to go down. That's painful. Can he get that Spore Crawler? I would go for that Spore. There is only a single Spore here protecting this base, and that is the lair as well. That's one Spore, Lambo. You've got the Mutas to do that.
Every time he fights a Spore Crawler, he loses a Muta or two. He actually even goes by it.
He's losing units at home as well. Serral sending so many roaches to the other side of the map. Doesn't want to keep them at home. They won't do much against those Mutas. And of course, with this roach counterattack, Serral's buying a lot of time to get more Spore Crawlers up, to get more Hydras up, and perhaps eventually get a Lurker or two. And Lurkers are really going to seal the deal.
It looked for a second there that Serral might have lost his grip on this game, and with it, history, as he's looking for his 4th WCS win. But by counterattacking in the face of death, he has won so much space. Behind this, it's been pure Hydras, and he's sitting on a slight worker lead. He knows that the game's going to come down to a decisive fight. At every base that he looks, it's just Lings, it's just Mutas, and only a few drones.
There's still not a single Lurker, though, I believe, right? Can we take a look real quick? That Lurker Den has been done for a while. 23 Hydras is obviously very, very promising. There are no Banelings out on the map for Lambo. Does he still have a Baneling nest?
I think it might have got picked off by the Mutas.
He still has one.
Well, he still has it. Third base gets low here. Both these players fighting with everything they have. Even more roaches going across the map. Again, you look at Serral, he's got about a 20 army supply. But that's not all Mutas. Now, the Hydras at this point in time pack a ton of a punch. You look at those 11 Banelings. These are the 11 most important Banelings you've seen in a while.
Yep, these Banelings, they have one mission. Let's connect with the Hydras. Lambo's trying to trick Serral as well, trying to get these Hydras out of position. The Roaches, they are the linebackers here. They're supposed to keep the Hydras safe.
Does jump on half of the Hydras. Is that going to be enough? Here comes the Mutas. They're on top of a lot of the Hydras, but with the Spore Crawler and the Hydras, he's going to hold on as he doubles the supply. Lambo, you gave it a hell of a fight, buddy, but that's just simply not going to do it. He knows it. As GG's called and Serral's going to the finals.
4 finals in a row for the man from Finland. He really was pushed to the limit there, Jeff.
Absolutely.
The streak was almost over, but the streak does not end here. Serral does it again. Those counterattacks while being under so much pressure. Madness, Jeff, madness.
Lambo
Super cool
played
to watch.
an amazing Zerg versus Zerg, taking Serral to Game 5. He's got nothing but, he just should feel so proud of it. An absolute fantastic series. You can see the emotion there, but Serral, once again, he's getting tested, he's getting tried, but he still prevails, and he's on stage with Sue now.
Thank you very much, In Control. Congratulations, Serral. History is made as you are the first StarCraft 2 player to make 4 straight WCS Grand Finals. I mean, that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty crazy. But I don't like to think about too much, and I'm already thinking about, I mean, I don't like to think too much so far, but I guess now it's the time to start thinking about the trophy.
In terms of this series, you started off so strong. It was a 2-0 lead for you, but Lambo was able to bring it back. Let's talk about lost and found, because there were definitely a few moments where it looked like maybe Lambo would do the unthinkable and finally stop you. But Serral, you were being Serral and you were able to pull out the win in the end. So how were you able to do so?
Yeah, I think the first 2 games, there weren't anything too special. I just kind of got my wins. That happens in every series. And then the second 2 games, I felt like I should have been able to win. And I was a bit surprised how well, especially the Dreamcatcher push, I was very surprised how well it worked, since I thought I had the perfect defense pretty much. But, I mean, I think Lambo is very good with timing attacks and that kind of stuff, so you need to be always careful against him. And yeah, the last game, I can't really know if it was behind or ahead, but I knew it was going Mutas in a good time, so I kind of mentally prepared for them already. But probably at some points I was a bit behind, at least when I lost all my Hydras to the Banelings for a bit dumb way, I would say.
Well, luckily you were able to pull out the win at the very end, and now you're in the Grand Finals once again, and it's going to be either Time or Rainer. But at this point, do you even care who you face, or are you just thinking about that 4th trophy on your shelf?
I never really care who I face. It's whatever it is, and I'll take whoever I get.
That sounds great. Well, congratulations again, Serral. 4 straight Grand Finals in a row. Nathanias, what do you think about that?
I don't know what to think, Smix. Serral is skill incarnate in StarCraft 2. He definitely took over this series. That final moment, that roach between the Warren and the Evolution Chamber that ate the last 3 Banelings to make that defense. Amazing play.
That was absurd. That actually should not have happened. That should not have been a holdable spot for Serral, but he held it, and he goes on to another Grand Finals. It's actually insane. It's actually not fair.
It's like I brought it up earlier in this tournament. Serral does that thing where he can be behind a series or behind a game, and yet he still just wins. But it's so amazing, and everyone's getting so close to beating him, especially in ZvZ. And we have 1 Zerg left, so.
So far, he's only played Zerg versus Zerg in this tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an updated bracket for you. But you could have guessed this part. Serral all the way to the finals again. He awaits either a Terran or that Rising Star Zerg. What a finish we have had here. I think we all kind of thought, yeah, Serral, if he plays as well as he's played all year, he was going to make it this far. I will say the other side of the bracket, maybe not as predictable.
The other side of the bracket's really interesting. I know a lot of people are kind of favoring Rainer a lot in this. Rainer has been playing phenomenal. His series versus Euthermal was actually just astounding. That was such a sick series. Time, I think, has a lot more to prove. Zombie Grub, I know you have a lot to say about Time, and he's an interesting guy. I really don't know how far he's going to be able to go here.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Even he admitted that his TVZ is probably the weak one, right? So Rainer looked really strong in his ZVT, and Time, I feel like he would have a really good shot now that I've seen him against Hero Marine if he didn't himself admit that he might be weak against the Zerg. So I'm on the Rainer hype train.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to just remind you one more time, we have a couple matches coming up. Just 2 more. Our second semifinal is up next. We're talking about it, Time versus Rainer. Then it's the Grand Finals. And don't forget, just before the Grand Finals, if you play this game you might have heard of, StarCraft 2, there's some cool stuff we're going to be showing you, especially those of you who love to complain about the game. We'll be right back after this break. More StarCraft 2 coming up. You're watching the World Championship Series.